Here we come, walking down the street. We get the funniest looks from everyone we meet. Hey, hey, we're the Monkees, and people say we monkey around.
Hey, we're the Monkees, and this is going to be my next build over here. So this is going to be for a group build. This is for a group build for the Psychedelic 60s group build hosted by Dan the Man at 60s Rule. One of the coolest cats that has a YouTube channel and always a fun guy. He does great builds, some great stuff. I learned a lot from him over the years. And I couldn't make this group build last year, but I knew right away once I got this kit that this was going to be for that group build. So you can check out the links in the notes for Dan the Man's group build and his channel. Now, what is the Monkeemobile? These are the Monkees over here. And basically, this is a 60s TV show. You know, when things were crazy on TV, you know, lasted for about 2 years. Same time that Batman was on. And again, they had all these crazy TV shows at the time. And this was one of them. And, you know, Batman had his Batmobile. And there were other cars, you know, the Beverly Hillbilly car and so many other ones. And of course, the Monkees had to have a Monkeemobile, which was a really, really cool car. So the Monkees, they were kind of controversial in a sense because they were created because of the, you know, the music scene at the time, you know, the British invasion and stuff like that. And so somebody said, hey, we got to have a TV show with these kids, you know, creating music. And there were, you know, some controversy saying these guys were not really musicians. And that was to a degree, you know, untrue because they were musicians in a sense, and they proved to be fine musicians over the years. And I mean, the group lasted a lot longer than the TV show, let's put it that way. And I listen to them all the time. They're great stuff. You know, music that they created from other writers and composers, and then they did their own. So anyhow, great guys. They're no longer around. It was, you know, Mickey Dolenz, Mike Nesmith, Peter Tork, and Davy Jones, and only, I believe, Mike's still around. Sorry, Mickey. And, I mean, Davy Jones was so popular that another singer by the name of Davy Jones had to change his name, and that happened to be David Bowie. So you can imagine how popular he was that even Bowie had to change his name. So anyhow, let's talk about the car itself. The car is a Pontiac GTO designed by Dean Jeffries, and it is really, really cool looking. Now, that was the good news. The bad news is I heard this kit sucks. I heard there's a lot of issues getting it together, especially getting the alignment of the rooftop over here. But hey, I'm going to do the best I can do. And the only issue I had is what color to paint it. And again, there was sometimes you'll see it as red. Sometimes you'll see it as kind of like a burgundy. And I actually went out and bought some paint. This one over here, some model, Vallejo model metallic air. And I'm not too sure if this is going to be working, but I'll give it a shot. I think it's as close to what I think it should be, and that's more on the burgundy side of things. But we'll see if I use this or another paint. But let's open up the box. Oh, I should mention that one of the things about this car is that there were two made. One was really for the TV series, and to be honest, it wasn't used often in the TV series. And another one was made as a promotional car to go on tour to promote the TV series. And that may be why we have, you know, the controversy with the colors, because it's possible that they were actually slightly different in colors. But anyhow, let's dig into this box and see what's inside over here. There's a TV show, and anyhow. So this is a fairly recent repop, but again, I heard that the original kit had a lot of fit issues. I do not think that they were really fixed with the repops. At least I don't, you know, haven't seen any videos showing me that they've, you know, fixed all those issues, but we'll see. And we got some chrome over here. The car itself, I should say that this, in one version of the cars, this was, you know, functional, and in one version of the cars, this was actually just like a mock-up that they put in and they switched engines. So we got some nice tires already, you know, nicely painted with a blue line over here. We got the body, And I don't know if I should be taking this off. Oh, here's the windshield. And the back, some seats, metal axles, and some decals, and the instructions. So you got your basic motor over here. The seats go in the chassis here. There's a parachute, which I think is pretty cool. And again, you can see everything is stripped off for the top over here. There is no support other than the windshield and the back. And that's where the back pops off. I really like these side mufflers over here that go off on the side. And here you got the Monkees. Pretty cool. All right. Let's see what we can do with this thing. All right, I've started the build, and a lot of parts all over the place. And I should mention right away that the kit comes with this little Monkees keychain. So I'll be painting that as I paint the car. Now, about the cleaning and fitting issues. I did a lot of sanding. There was a lot of areas that had not so much flash as very, very sharp edges, including, like, even though this is one piece pre-molded, this was all really, really sharp. So you have to sand that down, both the front and the back. And there's a whole bunch of other areas like that in the kit. One thing I was concerned with looking at the instructions is these front headlights over here that go in. Because this is a curved surface, these cannot go straight in. It just, won't fit. So you have to kind of put that in first and then slide it in and pop that in later. I was concerned whether, if I glue this piece to that piece, whether I'd still be able to do that. So I went around looking at it, and I finally found King Bob's Model Works, where he had done a build, and I'll put the link in my notes before, and so I knew I could do it that way, and I went ahead and glued it. And then right away I saw that there was a fit issue. This side is perfectly fine, but on this side there was a huge gap really between the lower part and the front part, so there'd be either a gap at the top or the bottom of this headlight. So this is an area where you really can't putty it. Number one, because you're going up against a chrome piece, and that's kind of messy to begin with. And you really can't build a wall with, putty, no matter how good it is, because there's no back support. So as soon as you try to file it or sand it down, it just crumbles on you. So again, this is another instance where, the sprue glue came in handy, where I had to basically build that up, and basically you just slobbered it on, even if, you've got some excess on the front, because you're going to sand that down, because this turns into the plastic again. And I did 3 iterations to really get it right, and you can see a before and after picture. So I've just about done it. I might have to go in one more time. If I'm not happy, I'll take a closer look at it, but at least that's been solved. I know I'll be okay there now. So speaking of links, I found another link where there's an interview with Lou Costabile and interviewing some guy named Tony Rota, where he was maintaining the car. And he's in the video, he's got the car in front of him, he talks around, he even drives it. Really, really highly recommended. It was really informative, and it was fun just looking at all that stuff. So I'll put a link in my notes for that one. Now, I mentioned the color. I want to go more with a burgundy, because there are pictures where it seems that the car is a little more burgundy, and I was debating that, and I was thinking also maybe the burgundy effect that I see on those pictures or videos, actually, even from the show, is basically when film degrades, the reds kind of turn into brown. So I wasn't too sure. I still wanted a little darker version of it. And, I looked at some other craft paint. I'm not going to go with the one I originally bought. And then I think I'm going to settle on this crimson over here, or something very close to it. Doing some tests on, airbrushing it to see if that's, kind of the red I want. And I think this will do. But I'll wait and see. I'm going to do another test run on the paint before I decide clearly what I do there. What I do know is I'm definitely going to go with the tan. Very light tan, interior bucket, and on the rooftop over here. And I also saw that, in some cases, depending on which of the two cars you're looking at, it looks like there's like a tan-ish carpeting. And again, there's a bit of a kind of a carpet texture over here, but a long time ago I went into a thrift store and I found a bag that had tons of craft paints, and it also had like 20 or 30 of these, basically it looks like flocking of different colors. So I'm probably going to see if I can use one of these just to make it look more like a real carpet. And that should make that, again, just a little more realistic. So again, we've been talking about the TV show. I noticed I've been talking about the TV show. I've been talking about the car, but let's see a minute or so of actual action scenes from the TV show. All right, this kit is making a bit of a monkey out of me because it's been 1 month since I unboxed it, and we're only at this point, so well behind schedule, and for a number of reasons. Some, not being able to put the time I wanted, and basically indecision on my part what I want to do for some of the things over here, but let's talk about them. So if you saw the last segment, the two parts that can make up the roof over here, they were already glued, but I want to mention that it's kind of tricky because it's really a thin edge over here, and when you're trying to glue it all in one shot, you get one side okay, and then they'll pop off the other side. So what I did was I used these 1, 2, 3 blocks, and I basically wedged it in so that this edge over here is perfectly aligned, and then I put some Tamiya thin just to get that going. And once that was glued but not completely dry, I was able to tuck in these pieces exactly the way they're supposed to be to make a perfect edge over here. So that worked out really well. Get some of these or anything really heavy that you can use to hold things in place, comes in handy often. So I mentioned the paints where I wanted to go with the crimson, or I thought that was going to be the best bet to get the color I wanted, the red I wanted. But no matter what I did with this paint, it would always splatter. I thinned it, changed the pressure, a whole bunch of things, could not get this paint to work. So I ended up trying a whole bunch of other reds, to see what I can do. And in the end, ironically, it was the deep red, the Craft Decor Art deep red, that was pretty much gave me this result, which is kind of close to what I wanted. Now, the funny thing about this red over here is, when you have it just laying in a cup, you'll see that it's a lot darker, and I thought this was going to be too dark. But as it so happens, every time I airbrush these things, and even multiple coats, it always comes out lighter than if it was just sitting in a cup. So you can see it's a little lighter than what I had over here, and yet this is okay. In terms of other things, there's supposed to be a little, the trim around the windshield over here is supposed to be chrome. I don't think I'm going to bother getting out my chrome airbrush, the alclad and everything, to mask all that off. I think I'm just going to go with regular, brush and paint on some silver or whatever close to chrome I have over here. The one thing I don't know what I'm going to do yet is this dash. Now, as I mentioned, there was that documentary / video with the real car, and actually a lot of this in one of the cars, the one used for the show, it was black, and I thought it's too much of a contrast because I'm going to go with a tan roof, but I'm going to use the white seats and white interior, and then just put the flocking for like the carpeting. But I didn't want to really make this black. I thought that was a little too much. So I think what I'm going to do here is go with a white. Right now it's only primed, and try to put the wood grain that is part of that and leave the rest white. And I think that's what I'm going to go with for that. Not accurate to any of the cars that scheme, but that's what I like. The last thing I want to mention is how to, I'm going to gloss this up, but I'm going to try something new that I've never tried before, is this Alclad lacquer aqua gloss clear. And again, this is supposed to be right out of the airbrush, supposed to be a little bit better than Future or the wood floor covering. And I'm going to give this a shot, and hopefully I'll get a nice shiny body out of that. So let me try to get back to work and try to speed things up. All right, a quick update over here. First of all, the Alclad Aqua Gloss Clear, it was a failure. However, I believe it was an issue with my airbrush that I later discovered. I did many coats, and you can see there's barely any shine at all to this. I don't know if I'm going to go back and put some more, because now it's kind of built up over here, and I try to sand it even very, very lightly with 1,500, 2,000 grit, and it does, we remove the paint. It's just too finicky. So I don't know if I'm going to go ahead with it and maybe just add another gloss at the end after I put the decals. But one thing I wanted to mention before I talk about the decals is I used one of these little micro brushes that I got from the model car Minion. And basically what you can do is I made the silver trim around this. Now I still need to go back here. I can see it's not quite as even on the other side. But basically the way this brush works is you put some paint on it and you go on an edge. And then you just follow the edge, and it'll be the same thickness all the way through. So you can see it's fairly even around, except I just didn't put enough on the top over there, and I just put some silver paint. So, but I do like it. It's better than just hand painting with a brush. So again, now let's talk about the decals. So there's some weird stuff going on with the decals, because when I look at other people's videos, they have a yellow decal for the Monkees, and it's a lot smaller than this one. This one's is huge. And if you look at the decal sheet, basically you got these two big ones, either with or without the black trim, or these really, really small ones. So the Monkeemobile itself obviously didn't have this logo on it, the one you used for the show. It was just for the promo where they would put something, and it was in yellow. And I look at some older kits, most of the videos, they have a yellow decal that's smaller than this, that just about fits on the door. You can see this is a lot bigger than the door. So I'm quite at a loss of what to do. I don't want to have a Monkeemobile without a Monkeemobile logo, so I think I'm pretty much stuck with this. So I'm gonna have to think about it. One of the reasons I have to think about it is because I put some little decals that they did provide for these dials that go into the dash, and they don't conform very well even with the microsol, which is supposed to it's a solvent that's supposed to basically kind of melt the decal itself. I had a hard time keeping them on, number one, and then it took quite a few coats for it to bend over so you don't have those edges. So I'm wondering what's going to happen here now if I try to put it right on that car. Anyhow, that's a quick update. I'll let you know what I end up doing in the next segment. I guess you'll see. All right, the fun continues with the Monkeemobile over here. One thing I neglected to mention in the previous segment about the decals is that the instructions don't tell you, the placement of these decals at all. And that's also problematic because, some stuff is obvious, but I have all these little chevrons over here and have no idea where they go. I looked at, reference photos of the car to see if I could figure it out, but I can't. Anyhow, I did go ahead and put these decals on because if you're going to have a Monkeemobile, you want it to say Monkees. And a lot of issues with these decals. Not very happy with them at all, aside from the size itself. I mentioned before when I made the the little dash over here that they were kind of thick and they really didn't conform with the microsol to soften them and blend them in. And when I put these on, I realized they were not gonna go into the panel lines, sink in. And try as I might so many times, I'd put the microsol and it would for a short period, get in there. It would, soften, fall into the groove, and stay there for a while. But then as the microsol would dry, it would basically pop back up. It's kind of like it stretches and unstretches and then stretches again every time I did it. So it would sink and swim, sink and rise. And no matter what I did, I even went in with a blade at one point and cut a fine line through all those panels, thinking, okay, now that it's not, one piece, it's two pieces, it would sink and stay. But no matter what I did, it would not conform. And I should point out, I did put, 3 coats of Future before that, so I had a nice, well, as close as I could, a nice clean surface over here. Anyhow, I was, I didn't know what to do. It was going to look ugly having panel lines and really not, them ending every time it came up to the decal. I even went so far as to try, one of the decals that I didn't need and seeing if the heat gun would do it. But again, the heat gun just basically makes that whole decal contract. It makes a mess out of it. So that was out. I'm stuck with what I have. Nothing I can do with it, but I did try everything with it, The only other issue now with the decals is there's a little GTO sign over here, and those are, those GTO decals that are supposed to fit over that. But to be honest, I don't think I'm going to try that because they're not going to conform to that. They're going to pop up again and they're going to look ugly. So my only recourse there is to take a chrome pen or, to go over that and have that chrome pop out. Now, unfortunately, my Molotov chrome pen, as it ages, they become silvery, not chrome. And I just recently acquired this a.k.a. chrome pen, which is a lot cheaper, like $2 online. But the problem with these are they do not come with the fine tips like the Molotov. It's a good chrome pen. I tried it on other things, and they're great chrome pens. They're like $2-3. But now I'm not too sure if I have enough control with that wide tip to go over that GTO. So I'll have to figure out if I do that or if I try to just do it with the old chrome pen, which is fine, but then it comes out more silvery, and I'll have to figure that out. Enough of that. Now, I looked at the flocking I said I want to put at the bottom of the car here, the tub, and it's very crystalline, and you can see there's sparkles, there's shine. I'm not too sure of 2 reasons whether I want to put that. Number one, am I going to be able to get rid of the shine? I was thinking of using Mod Podge for that, and a matte Mod Podge, and that may solve that. But I was also wondering if I had enough flock. I think I had just enough flock in there because, again, you need a little extra when you're putting it on because some won't stick and it'll fall back out. So I'll still have to decide if I go with that flocking. Now, I mentioned the dash before. I'm going to try something new over here, and this is, again, thanks to the King Bob's Model Works, where he had I thought, a great idea where he used UV resin to put in onto the dash dials. So it basically creates kind of a lens effect. So I picked up some of this stuff a little while back for some other project, and I haven't even used it yet, but I think I'm going to try that. Put a little just drops in there and then go in and cure it and see if it has a glass effect. I tried to replicate the wood dash, the wood grain on the dash over here, because in some pictures you clearly see it, it was a wood grain, again, depending on which model of the car. So anyhow, that's the progress so far. Last thing I want to mention, because these decals are problematic, the version I have is the 2022 round 2 issue of this kit. So what can I say? Round 2, I'm not happy with that. Terrible decals, especially for this day and age. They should have better decals than this, and avoid this one if you don't want to have the same issues I had with the decals. Let the bill continue. All right, a few things to talk about, but the most important of all is Dan's 60s Rule channel. So something happened a while back, a few days ago, where it was taken down, and I couldn't understand why. It just says it was deleted, and that's what YouTube did. They actually just deleted the account. No rhyme or reason. No, he's still trying to figure out why that happened. But more importantly, he's created a new channel the new 60s rule channel, and I'll put a link in my notes. I'll keep the old links there just in case his old channel comes back, because I really hope it does come back, because he had like 13 years worth of great videos, very informative, a lot of good tips, and a lot of good information on a lot of kits. So hopefully he gets that back. But if not, please subscribe to him, and hopefully we can get back to the numbers where he had before. He's up and posting videos as he's been doing before. So I want to talk about the flocking. Mixed results over here. It wasn't perfect, but still, it's okay. What the most important thing here is, when you're putting down the glue, the PVA glue, to hold down that flocking, make sure it's everywhere, common sense, but also make sure that the thickness is more or less the same, because I had some areas which weren't as thick, so it didn't hold the flocking as well. So I tried to go back in and, patch up those areas, but you can definitely see where it's patched up and not. But hey, from far, it still looks better than just a plain surface on the bottom there. The UV resin, really happy with this stuff. I did all the dash dials over here, and I did the tachometer. And it's important to note, especially for that tachometer, because these particular decals are not the greatest, is that when you put the UV resin on top, it's also, extra bonding. It seals in those decals. So now the added benefit of that UV resin, I also went in and put some on the headlights over here, the main beams. I don't know if you can see that. It's very subtle, but again, it looks like a piece of glass over that beam, even though it's very subtle. Well worth it. It takes a few seconds. It's not too expensive stuff, and it makes your model just that a little bit better. Now, the tail lights. I mentioned how I went and made sure that I can glue this and still get the front lights in without a problem, based on King Bob's Model Works video. But unfortunately, I didn't check to see if the same was the case for the rear, and I had a small issue getting those rear lights in there, because it slopes down on the top over here. So I had to do a little filing, but there was another issue here where there were these gaps at the end and on the bottom of that, where, because it's a clear piece, you can see right through that. So what I did there was I just took some plain foil paper, cut out the trimmed out pieces that would fit exactly as per those tail light dimensions and outlines, and glued that in back so that it would cover those areas. And the added benefit now is it also, makes them a little bit brighter. It looks like, they're shinier. The one thing I could not do is there's supposed to be some little lines, the embossed surface of that has these lines, and they're supposed to be either metal or, something like that. And I tried to see if I had the skill to go in with a chrome marker to put that, but I don't have the skills. And if you miss, it gets into the grooves there. So I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave that as is. And now I still have to figure out whether I'm going to do the panel line accents. I mean, I'll be okay over here, but I'm not too sure if I'm going to like it if it doesn't get into that groove. I'll do a small test probably, and if it works, then I put the panel line accent. If not, forget about it. And then I'm not sure if I have the skill to go with, again, a fine marker to raise that GTO sign, because I'm not going to put the decals on. Again, it's something I'm going to have to test to see if I can do it before I actually do it on the model itself, and see if I can put the marker. And if it doesn't come out, make sure I can remove that marker. So I'm hoping the next segment will be the end of the build, and you can see a complete Monkeemobile. All right, it seemed at times that I was never going to finish this model, but I am calling it done. A few things I want to mention since the last segment. I did the panel line accents, and, sure enough, where the decals are, you really can't see it, but I figured it's better to see some of it than none at all. I also just opted to put some panel line accent to get that GTO. Not can't see it as nice as it should be, but it's still better than nothing. Even towards the end, I had a lot of issues just putting together, the last few steps. Again, I'm happy with the car. I've always loved this car, but I just wish this kit was a little bit better than it really is. So you're going to struggle with it. What can I say? One last issue I encountered when I was putting in the bucket in here is that there's a bigger gap over here because this opens up, this railing kind of ends, this padding. And I ended up putting just a few little wedges of styrene in there so that I can close it, with a clip and get better adhesion over here. You got to be careful also with the tack. If you put it too far back, it'll hit the windshield over here. So I had to move it just slightly up. And the little rear view mirror, I noticed that my kit had an injection mold point in there, so I had to sand that out and put some, use the chrome pen to fill that in. So again, happy with the result, but I was hoping to get, a little bit better of a model out of this thing and a little less work. The funny thing is the areas that I thought were going to be problems were not the problems that I encounter. It was always other areas. So I hope you enjoy it. Thanks again to Dan from the 60s Rule at his new channel for hosting the group build. And I'll be building more of his other group builds because he holds a few every now and then. So thanks, Dan. And the last thing I want to mention is I do have another model that I've been itching to build for quite some time with some special electronics. So that will be the next one. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Oh, by the way, you can, you don't have to glue this in. You can just leave it as is, which I've opted to do. And again, this is another weird thing about this kit is the placement of the motor. Like that is the correct placement, believe it or not. You'd think it would be all the way up front, but it's not. I looked and looked, make sure that I followed instructions accordingly, but that's it. It doesn't really matter because I will keep that as is, as it should be. So hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.
Here we come, walking down the street. We get the funniest looks from everyone we meet.